Okie dokie.
Marcy, just if you would, for Anthony's sake, he'll be editing this. Say and spell your name, and if there's any kind of title in relation to Balboa Island you'd like us to give you.
Oh, I haven't had a chance to look. When I have a chance, I'll be able back.
Residence and whatever. Anyway, but say and spell your name.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, Marcy Cook, Marcycook.
Okay.
And if I had to have a title, current title probably would be Bear Lady on the Bear House on Balboa Island. However, I really loved my profession more than that, but that's my current Balboa Island.
And it is. I've been here 2.5 years, and I don't have to tell you that. You may have replaced them. I would say in 2.5 years, people would say on Main Island, well, go see the McGuire House. It's a beautiful house, and they're nice people. And now it's either go see the Reagan House, which is Miriam Baker, or go see the Teddy Bear House. So we'll start at the back. So how do you feel about it? How did it all come about, and how do you feel about that?
Okay, actually, it's really fun. I love, as you of course know, teddy bears because that's what I have.
And who doesn't, right?
Right, everybody loves a teddy bear, except not all. I take it back. There are a few people that walk by and say negative things, and I really just look at them and go, what?
What did they say?
They'll say, oh, these are scary, this is weird, this is silly. Why would somebody on a bayfront have all of these teddy bears? I love teddy bears, and it started with one. I was in, we were living on Diamond, not on the bayfront at the time, and a neighbor came by, happened to be the wife of the current mayor at the time, and she came by and she carried this bear, and she said, Marcy, look what I just bought. And she said, you've got to hold it. And I went, oh, it's okay. I've never had a teddy bear in my life. So anyway, she said, no, hold it, because it feels like a baby. If you hold it up here, it'll kind of just melt. And I did, and I fell in love with it right away.
1980?
Yeah, it was in the early 80s, I think.
And the mayor would have been...
Phil Maurer.
Okay.
At the time. There you go. We could document it if but anyway...
She just wanted to give you a teddy bear.
No, she didn't give it to me. She just had me hold it. So I had to go and say, so where did you get this teddy bear? And she shared with me where she did. It was up in Fashion Island, and I went up to Fashion Island and bought the exact same teddy bear, plopped it on my dresser, thinking, oh yay, I have this cute teddy bear. And then I don't know what happened. The hobby kind of started, and
No, you know what happened. What happened?
Somebody bought me one, and now I had two. And then my son is dating a girl who loved Beanie Babies, and now the two went to 122. And so now we had teddy bears then starting to be everywhere. In fact, the funny thing is...
I'm at Diamond and Balboa. You were at Diamond and...
We were in the 300 block of Diamond.
North Bayfront.
Closer to the North Bayfront, but not on the Bayfront, yeah. And so when we moved to the Bayfront, that's when it really started going crazy, actually.
Is that when we lost it, Marcy?
I think so. In fact, we were in, to take a step backwards, we were in bed one morning, waking up, and because if you're on the Bayfront, you hear people if the windows are open, you can hear their conversation. I mean, you literally can hear what they are talking about. So there were two men, they were walking by, and one of them went, oh my God. And the second one said, it's a hobby gone awry. And we thought that was so funny that when we were in Florida, not too long after that, we were in the little antique shop, and they had the sign that said, Teddy Bear Collector, Orphans Welcome Here. And we went, no, because I don't want to be a depository for every used, moth-eaten Goodwill teddy bear. So we bought the sign, we had somebody paint out the Orphans Welcome Here and say, hobby gone awry. So that still is in there.
That sign's still there.
That sign is still there. Teddy Bear Collector, hobby gone awry.
What do you think the house is best known as? What's the name for the house?
Oh, everybody calls it the Bear House.
The Bear House.
Everybody. I mean,
Do you think you're the most famous house? Someone told me, a few people, there's 1,386 homes on the island, something like that. Does that number sound right?
counting Little Island. That sounds Sounds about right.
Do you think yours is the most famous?
I think it's probably the most talked about. Definitely, I'm not sure if famous is the right word, but it's the most talked
Notorious,
about.
perhaps?
And so many people walk by. And the funny thing is on the Hobby Gone Awry, there are so many people that don't know the word awry, I guess. They'll sit there and they'll go, Hobby Gone
Worry.
Ari. But my favorite was one, this is when my husband was still alive. These people went by and they went, oh my gosh, it says hubby gone away. He must have gotten tired of all the bears and left. That was hysterical.
Oh, that's so funny.
That was it was a kick. Yeah,
So
it was.
so it kicks in, and where do you get them from, generally?
Everywhere. For example, last week I was in Maine, and well, I came home Monday, 2 days ago, and I was doing the New England fall foliage tour. So we went to 6 different states in New England, and I came home with 18 new bears.
Because they already knew you 3,000 miles away?
Well, one was the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, which I have
Yes.
bought many bears from. In fact, we commissioned them to do a Don Quixote and Sancho Panza bear for us once because we collected those for a while. And I also we commissioned them to do 2 Cook bears that had little chef hats and little aprons that said Bob Cook and Marcy Cook on the other one. And then I had bought the 12 Days of Christmas bears also from them. So I had to go to the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, of course. And so added one more from that one to my collection. And then lots more, 17 others along the way.
Most you've ever had, you told me you have about a little over 4,500. Is that the most you've ever had?
I own 4,531 bears, and that's the most right now. However, next week, if you ask me again, it might change.
Is there a time of year they go up? Christmas?
Whenever I am on a trip, I went to Germany in May and came home with 61 new bears. I know. And it's kind of like we're running out of space because bears are everywhere.
Yeah, because I believe
They're
it's every
everywhere.
home limited to 3,000 square feet of home.
Oh, we have 2,500.
Yeah, and the bears don't live outside.
No, the bears live inside. But some of them hibernate. And when they hibernate, some of them have to go to storage. For example, if you're a Christmas bear, and I have 1,368 Christmas bears, they, in February, are not in the house. They are hibernating somewhere. But then they come out, and believe it or not, they already are coming out. It's only October, and they're coming out where they aren't being seen yet. They're in the back rooms that I can start decorating early because it takes me 4 months to decorate for Christmas in its entirety because the entire house is Christmas. The entire.
I promise you just a few more bear questions because you've done some very significant things. A very successful business person. My ex-girlfriend tells me they love your meth products. But so you mentioned the 1,300 Christmas bears. Is there a single favorite? Is there all of them?
A favorite, I would probably have to say my very first bear that I ever got, just because it started my whole world of collecting.
They all have names?
Oh, are you kidding? I don't know that many names. How could you come up with 4,531 different names? I do have a few repeat ones, either because somebody gave me one that I had already bought, or I forgot that I had that one, and oops, it's the same one again. So it's like they're twins. No, he doesn't. Actually, the only ones that have a name are, we lost a son to cancer, and one of the bear companies came out with a bear that was named already, and his name was Bobby. And so I have a bear that's the Bobby bear. But other than that, none.
And that first one, would I obviously know, is he prominently displayed? Are they all he's, by the way?
Are they all what?
He's, or are they he's and she's?
Oh, they're he's and she's, yeah. I mean, most of them that are just bears, I think of more as boys because I had 2 boys and I love boys. I mean, but some of them have little dresses and yeah, they're all. And Mrs. Santa, of course. You've got to have Mrs. Santa at Christmas time.
Last question on that. So it is such a unique and beautiful home. Have you been, I'm sure, Balboa Living and all that, but have you had regional and national fame?
Absolutely. A television company came from Germany came through, oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and the gal talked to me, and she came, said, would I mind being interviewed? And she came through, did a tour of the house, and I was featured on a German TV thing. And then last year, somebody who saw that German television program contacted me and said she was an editor for a German magazine on teddy bear collections, and would I mind being featured in an article in Germany on my teddy bears. So I had to send her pictures of my Christmas bears, my Cook bears, my angel bears, because I have a whole room of angel bears dedicated to the son that I lost.
Have the Guinness folks contacted you?
No, but I've been told that somebody in South Dakota has a warehouse, and she opens it up to the public, charges you to come in, and she welcomes used old teddy bears, new teddy bears, doesn't matter, and she has over 10,000. Now, I don't know if that's hearsay or that's right, but so I'm not in competition. I don't want to go for another 6,000 to beat her out, if that's true.
How did you come to be on Balboa Island?
Oh, you'll love this story. It's classic. We were living in Fullerton. My boys were 2 and 3. And one day I was looking at the like ads in the ad section of the paper, and I never did that normally. We weren't looking for anything, but I just happened to think, I'll just look and see what. And I saw this little thing that said, there's a place on Balboa Island available like tomorrow. I mean, it was going to be the very next day for $150 for the week. And I went, no way. No way, $150 for the week. So I called my husband at work and I said, hey, I just saw this thing. I think there must be something wrong with the ad. That's way too little. But what do you think? And he said, oh yeah, great. I can just commute to Fullerton each day because we would still be working. And we'll go down this was in 1974. Yeah. So we came down. It happened to be on Marine, back 1-bedroom little unit, behind the main house, and we had
What business was it?
a wonderful
that you were
week.
behind?
No, it was a house. So
Oh,
it's a
it
house
was
in
on
front of
Ice.
us. Yeah, it was on Marine in the 100 block.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we loved it. We had a wonderful week there. Just my husband and I both said, "Oh my gosh, this is such a neat place." He had been involved a little bit in Balboa as a youngster. I had come down once as a guest of a girlfriend whose parents rented down here, but this week was magical, and we kept saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe how great it is." But we went back home. The spring after that, we decided we were going to go to the beach for the day. We usually, before that, had gone to Big Corona Del Mar for the day from Fullerton. We said, let's just go back to Balboa Island. This is a Sunday, okay? So we go down to the same thing. We went and parked on Marine so we could go to the same beach that we'd been to before. And the kid,
North Bayfront. That's
no,
right. Oh,
South Bayfront. We were in the South Bayfront.
Oh,
Yeah, we're at the South
yes,
Bayfront.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so the boys said, gosh, we really want an ice cream, really. Okay, so we walked up to the old Jolly Rogers, and they had an ice cream window, a window that we have sold ice cream. You didn't have to go in and sit down. So we got the boys ice cream cones. Of course, we had to pass the realtor, and so as we passed the realtor, the boys went, oh, we want to go for a ride on the golf cart. And we went, well, no. I said, no, that's not an option. Those are for the realtors to show houses. They thought it was like a ride at Disneyland or something, let's go for a ride on the golf cart. They said, well, we really want to go for a ride on the golf cart. And I said, well, we can't do that. And as I passed the window, I saw one house that they said was the best bargain on the island. And so anyway, we went back to the beach to where my husband was, and the boys are still saying, Dad, we really want to go for a ride on a golf cart. And I said, hey, I know what, why don't we just go and ask them to show us just this one house that said it was the best bargain on the island, and the boys will get a golf cart ride. Okay, so that's what we did. We went into the realtor. Her name was Lynn at the time, and it was her second or third day of work only. And this is a Sunday, remember? And she took us to this house, and she said, and it was on agate, and it was, but
Agate is dicey.
well, yeah, but I mean, it was not the house that we would have ever even been interested in, and we weren't, in the market to buy a house to begin with, right? So she said, oh, I have 2 other houses, let me show you the 2. And we looked at each other and went, And the boys are going, yeah, yeah, because then we have more time on the golf cart. Okay, they love this golf cart. So we went and they showed us a house on Topaz and they showed us a house on Diamond. And we said, thanks, but, you know, we'll think about them. Ha ha, no. And we left. That, that night, this is a Sunday. This is 7, it's 74.
Okay.
Yeah, 75. It was 75. Okay, so we came home. We said, you know, gosh, wouldn't that be fun if we could get one of those and just keep the back part where we could maybe come down on weekends and we don't have to rent, and we'll get some income from the main house. So my husband said, why don't you go back down on Monday and look at the two, not the agate one again, but the diamond one and the topaz. And so I went back down on Monday and I went, oh, the topaz one, I liked it a little better, but it didn't have a back rental, so it'd be, if we rented it, then we couldn't do it and we couldn't afford it. So the diamond one had this little shack on the back. It was an unbelievable small house. And I said, let's go for it. On Tuesday morning, now remember, we saw it on Sunday. On Tuesday morning, we went and made an offer. My husband was in a Board of Education meeting that night. He was Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, and so he had to attend meetings. And while he was in that meeting, they called us and said, your offer's been accepted, the house is yours. Oh, 2 days later, the realtor this is only her third or fourth day. Look at how much work she did for her commission. And we now have a house, and we're going, oh my gosh, what do we do? How are we going to afford to even, what are we doing? What are we thinking?
Can I ask what
And
a
what's-
home, a classic Balboa Island home with a back house on Diamond, what did it cost back then?
$75,000. That was
part
a
of your decision-
lot.
I know, your main decision was because your kids like to go on a golf cart.
No, that's why we even got started thinking, yeah.
Did you think you were buying on the common that this area was just gonna blow up and?
No, we didn't think of that at all, but we thought, what a fun place. We loved it for us, not thinking that we're gonna make money on it, not thinking that.
You got the vibe, the Balboa Island.
We fell in love with it that week that we were renting here, and we went, oh my gosh. And now we decided then, of course, what are we thinking of that we'll live in the back part? Let's live in the main part and rent out the back part, and Bob could commute to and from Fullerton. I was teaching at Cal State Fullerton at the time too, so.
What did you teach?
I was in the education department doing with the mathematics part for elementary school teachers and supervising student teachers.
So teaching teachers how to teach math.
Correct. That's
So
correct.
now you're a Balboa Island resident.
Now I am.
And
now I'm the bear lady.
So,
Okay.
but I guess the transition is, you not only, so take me through your professional development. You're teaching
Okay.
people to teach math.
Yeah.
At some point, you figure out there can be a better way to teach math. Is that how it went?
Okay, well, I always wanted to be a teacher, even in elementary school. That was my dream. I'm going to be a teacher.
Is
And
that how you met your husband?
no, I'll tell you. Wait a second. You gotta listen to the whole story. So, as a sixth grade student, my teacher recognized that I was really wanting to be a teacher. So she had me go down a day a week into I think it was the second grade classroom, and read stories on an animal. It wasn't stories. It was more factual information. So I'd take the raccoon one week or an otter another week or whatever, and share with them pictures and talk about the animal and its habitat and all. And I knew that was what I was going to be. So I went to Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara, for my undergrad work and majored in elementary education. There was no doubt I was going to be a teacher. And my first year I taught fifth grade, all content areas. And the second year, we had a principal change, and he came in and said, okay, you have to specialize. Do you want to go language arts, or do you want to do math science? Well, the only quandary was I loved creative writing, and I hated to give up that aspect, but the grammar part and the
Not much
reading, so, no, math can be so exciting, but anyway, so I had to go, sorry, that comes later. So I went math science, so for the next 2 years, I taught mathematics and science to fifth and sixth graders. And then I had an opportunity. I applied for Stanford University had an experienced teacher fellowship program, and during that time they chose 25 people from throughout the United States of America, and who had taught between, I think it was 3 and 5 years. You had to have taught at least 3, no more than 5, so they wanted people in that range. I had just finished my 3rd year teaching, and I was accepted, and I had to make a decision: did I want to do math or science? And that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, because I loved them both. And I went science, believe it or not. And so I went to Stanford. I had to take pre-med science classes, took graduate chemistry classes, and I'd never had and even undergrad classes. Oh my gosh. The guy was my private tutor. He said, don't even bother come to class, just come to me, because we had to start so basic. Anyway, so, and then I got my administrative credential stuff out of the way then. So right then I was kind of more science. We went overseas to teach in Greece, taught 2 years in Thessaloniki, Greece, in an international school. And my husband was, well, actually we got married in Athens. We had planned that. He had to go.
College?
He was an administrator in the school district that I was in, Sunnyvale School District. And we're both going through a divorce. We had met during my Stanford year. We were dating. He got the job overseas, said, will you come with me? And I said, only if we get married. And so we got married in Athens, and which was great, and then went back up to Thessaloniki for a 2-year stint. And so I taught 7th grade math, 7th grade science, 8th grade math, 8th grade science, and 9th grade algebra, and, get this one, girls PE for 7th through 12th grade. And I'm not a PE person. I mean, I'm about as agile as...
They needed a PE
They
teacher.
needed a PE teacher, so I got the whole gamut.
What's the
Yeah.
difference teaching over
Yeah.
there and teaching here?
Well, it was an
They speak Greek?
No, because it was an international school. And so, in fact, if you had a Greek, if you were a Greek passport only, the only thing you could do is go to kindergarten. First grade on, you had to show proof of a different passport to be able to be enrolled in our school, because the Greek didn't want to lose their student population to, quote, private or, other schools. So we didn't have Greek students unless they had a second passport.
Come back here to teach in what district?
So then I came back, when we came back from Greece after 2 years, we settled in Monterey area, and so I taught in Carmel Unified School District for two years, 2nd grade, and that was it was a open classroom, a really big room. We had 60 children, 2 of us teaching it, and it was staggered days. So the first group came in at 8:30 and left at 1:30. The second group came in at 10:30 and left at 3:30. And so I had 4 hours of math instruction, because you had half the first group and she had half, Elaine had half the others for language arts, and everybody came. And then when the early birds left, the late birds, here we go again, I had the math, she had the literacy. So then my husband got a job. He was in Pacific Grove School District. He got a job as assistant superintendent for personnel in Fullerton School District. So here we go. Moved to Fullerton when my little one was 7 days old. We packed up the whole house and moved lock, stock, and barrel to Fullerton. So then we were in Fullerton. And so once in Fullerton, I spent a number of years teaching at the Cal State Fullerton in the ed department, and supervised student teachers, which was great, and it was flexible, and it wasn't full-time. They hired me. Only one semester was I allowed to teach full-time because I didn't have a doctorate. I only had my master's. And they had somebody on leave, so I had one semester of full-time. The rest of it was perfect because I was trying to raise 2 little kiddos, so it worked out great. Then we moved to Balboa Island.
And at what point do you get the entrepreneurial?
Yeah, okay, when I was teaching at Cal State, a lot of my work was helping young people to be teachers. And I had, a vision that the way most teachers teach is you turn the page in the math book, and that's all you do, go through that math book, and that's not the way to teach mathematics. You've got to put excitement in it, you've got to have problem solving, you've got to have logical thinking, you've got to get so much more into it. So I would instill in these ideas in my students They went back, and I let them copy some of the things that I had created. I started just creating materials, copy it so they could use it in their classrooms as they were student teaching. Their master teachers back at school were saying, where are you getting all these great ideas? They said, oh, from Marcy Cook, our university professor. The district started inviting me to come out and do mathematics in-service to staff development for their teachers after school. So maybe, from 3 to 5 one afternoon, or on a Saturday, a full day. So as I started doing that, then all of a sudden somebody invites me to speak at the state level, and then whatever, and it just...
Simply put, making math fun?
No, it's not making math fun, it's making math a thinking sport. That's how I really used to think of it, that it is fun, but you're not doing math for fun's sake. You're doing math for the problem solving, the involvement, the getting kids excited about things, and having to say, wait a minute, but if that's true, oh no, then that has to be. And I developed a whole lot of materials that are still being marketed all over. I've worked in
all print materials. You're kind
Okay.
of before the whole,
Right.
online.
But interestingly now, as I have over 300 products that I've written, some of them are books in book fashion. They're not textbooks, they're activity books that you can run off copies and get the kids
Designed
involved.
for K through
Kindergarten through 8th grade, although a number of high school teachers have purchased my stuff and said, oh, my kids just eat it up, because it's thinking. I mean, if I gave you one of the tasks, which I could do, where you have 10 tiles and you've got to deal with all of these things and get them all to fit on the sheet, and you have to deal with, you would be probing, exploring, experimenting, persevering to get it. It's not just, there it says 6 times 5 is 30. No, it'll say something like box. If you were, let's say, doing multiplication, it would say box times box, so it's a single digit times a single digit, is 20 something. So what are you going to put there?
box times box is 20,
So what would you have in the 2 boxes?
4 and 5.
Right, okay, but what else could you have had?
8, 10 times 2.
No, it's box times box, not a 2-digit number. Single digit number.
Single digit number. 8 times 2.5.
No,
No fraction.
No, it's single digit times single digit.
Single digit times single digit.
Right. That's what the box is indicating.
5 and 4, but it can be 4 and 5 as well.
What's that?
It can flip.
Right, you could do that, but 5
1
times.
20. Single digit.
No. Why are you honing? This is a perfect example of you're honing in narrow-mindedly that it has to be 20, because it's 20 something. Ta-da! So now you could have 9 times 3 is 27. 8 times 3 is 24.
I missed the something part.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's also a trick question.
no, it's not a trick question.
Yes,
That's
it is one.
my husband would always say it's a
Wanna
trick
fight?
question. Yeah, I do. Okay. No, it's anyway. So the thing is that if you had put 5 times 4 is 20 there, you now have another problem and another problem, and all of a sudden you're left with 2 digits that aren't going to make the last problem work. So you have to go back and go, oh, what could I have changed? And you could have changed that 5 times 4 to be 7 times 3 is 21, which freed up the 0 which you needed someplace else, or which, do you see what I mean?
Absolutely, but
So-
I'm only now getting the rules of the game.
Okay,
But I
I'm
absolutely-
sorry, I did not clarify the rules, so it's my fault, not yours.
I'm questioning you as this crazy successful business. So you made it a business.
Right.
Called?
Marcy Cook Math,
And
M-A-T-H, yeah.
In what year?
My first copyright, and that was when I started, was in 1978.
Give me an idea how successful it's become.
Oh, extremely successful. It just mushroomed and mushroomed, and I've gotten to speak in 39, I just looked it up again, 39 foreign countries doing presentations, and 44 of the 50 states in the United States, I've done presentations in
Ongoing
math.
business still.
So I
40 years.
retired last year from doing my seminars and presentations. However, the materials are still out there, and now because of our wonderful world of electronics and Okay, we're changing, we're no longer doing printing of, as we exhaust a title, it's turned into a PDF, downloadable PDF that people can buy and utilize and run off and do what they want
But
to.
you still own 100% of Marcy Cook
Correct.
Math, and what's
Correct.
the future for Marcy Cook Math?
Well, my son has been employed with me for the last, he was a ferry driver on ferry, and I wrangled him to get out of that
Work
one.
for the Beaks.
Yeah, you're right, he worked for the Beaks. But he got his degree at Long Beach and thought he maybe would go into teaching, and then realized, maybe not so much, because you have to deal with irate parents sometimes, and you have to deal with problem kids, and you have to, and he's going,
We can talk, sister.
I don't think this is for me. So I said, how about this? How about you working for me? And so he's my business manager. And for years, he's gone with me. I mean, and the fun thing is he doesn't go to work other than to schlep all of the materials and all the suitcases and all. But he's had an opportunity to see much of the world like I have.
Well, I know this is always a tough question, so if you can answer it as much as you'd like, but give me a sense of how big the business got or is. How many employees, maybe annual revenues?
Well, employees, my son and I are it.
So you sub everything
We're
in,
it.
yeah.
No, we don't. What do you mean we?
Like
well,
to publish, to produce.
Oh, well, we had printers involved,
Right.
so we have different, when we first started out, we had to have 3 different printers because we printed on heavy cardstock, and most printers don't want to print on that, so we found a printer that would do that, but then it was cheaper to get the regular thing here, and then the envelopes where somebody else did, so we had to go get 3 things, and when my boys were little, they had to collate it. So we'd have all of these things, and they had to
You
go
ran
around.
lean and mean.
It was, yeah, it
But
was,
this was-
we
this was
started,
like-
seriously, we started as a family business only because my kids had to do the collating of it, so they were involved too.
Was this
And-
a 8-figure business, 9-figure annual revenues? Was it that big?
No,
8-figure?
no, I don't think I could say that really, no.
But
No.
it was a very profitable.
Very profitable,
Enough
very
that
profitable.
you could move on up.
Exactly, and if we, we still have our diamond house that we
for you.
had,
And you rent that out.
and then we have the teddy bear house,
And how'd that come up?
and then we have 2 houses on Garnet too. So, yeah, so it's been a good business, and it's been a good life, and
And
I love it.
obviously you made some shrewd real estate moves, because it's
Right.
buying homes, not just on Balboa Island, which is shrewd, but at the right time.
Right. And 2 of them, our first house here on Balboa Island was 800 square feet. And we didn't know, we didn't pay attention to that when we bought it. But when the boys were in Boy Scouts, they had to do a floor plan. And when they measured it out, we went, oh my gosh, that's the whole house for
4-person family.
4 persons, 1 bathroom.
And.
And,
teddy bear or something.
no, there were no teddy bears in that house at all, in the old house.
That's
None-
1 person, 1 bathroom is tough.
Well, especially the 1 bath, because the bathroom had a door that went outside also, okay? And there were times, I could have killed my 2 boys, when I am in the bathtub and they walk in the outside door going, hi, Mom, and now behind them, hi, Mrs. Cook, hi, Mrs.
Well,
Cook,
that's-
the neighborhood kids. And it was like,
That's Balboa Island. living.
this is not
How
a,
did the, just a few more questions, Marcy. And
Yeah.
by the way, you're a terrific interview.
Oh,
How did South Bayfront place come available? When did you buy it?
okay, it was really
Buy
interesting.
it because of teddy bears?
No. We
Was it
saw,
next to the Buddy Epson house?
no, we're 2 down.
2 down.
Yeah, Judy's house is on the corner, and we're on the
Judy-
opposite, Tucker.
Okay.
And so we're on the opposite corner. But we knew the people who lived in the house because we both had boys, and we actually met when the boys were in kindergarten at a get to know the other parent party that somebody had off the island. But anyway, so we knew them over the years, but not personally. And then we saw a sign up once that their house was for sale. So we weren't in the market to buy a house, but I said, oh gosh, I'd love to see it. So I looked at it.
1990?
This is, 1990 maybe or 91.
Good time to buy.
Well, and so we looked at it, and I went home and I said, I really, really loved this house. I mean, it needed stuff done, like the old popcorn ceiling and all this stuff. Like,
Because that house was built when?
in the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Bob and I talked it over and went, no, we really can't afford to do this because we don't want to sell where we are, and we just didn't think we could handle doing that. So we said no, and it was like, and they ended up pulling it off the market. And so, not because of us, but they were going to buy a house, and that deal fell through. So they pulled it off. So when I ran into her once, I said, hey, if you're ever going to sell it again, contact us, and maybe we can, save the realtor commission by just seeing if we can negotiate. And I don't know, maybe a year later, it's exactly what happened.
So you've been in the house close to 30 years.
Yep, we moved in, and we bought it in late '92 and moved in because we had a lot of remodeling of it, taking out walls. It was like a dormitory upstairs, there was a door here, a door here. No, take them out, make big arches so that it just kind of flows. So, so we moved in the spring of '93.
So for 26 years, do you see yourself as your permanent residence?
Oh, absolutely. I would never, ever, ever, ever. I've told my son.
Never sell it. It's your son's. It's going to be your son's.
My son, they bulldozed down another property, and it moved in last year on one of our properties, the 4.
Garnet.
On Garnet, and built a beautiful, talk about a nice house. They live in a gorgeous house. Right
What's
on
the
the
address? Give me a
right
map.
on the corner of Park Avenue
Sure.
and Garnet.
Right across from the restaurant.
No, that's on Agate. The restaurant's on
You're,
Agate. It's a few streets down, two more blocks down. Garnet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
But
home.
at that, okay.
And they have the outside upstairs patio that seats 12 people and for dinner, and has a TV. And I'm going, oh my gosh, my house is has lots of termites. It has lots of problems, leaks. We can't disclose where the leaks are. We've had so many people out, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And I would never, I've said to my son, when I go, don't you dare put me in a home. Bring somebody in the home to take care of me, but I'm staying right here with my teddy bears.
To wrap this up, how much can you say living here might have, obviously you love to live here, but it's also maybe influenced how successful you became? Is there a correlation between the two, being on the island?
I'm not sure, other than the wonderful feeling and happiness. And every time I cross over that bridge, when we first bought the house, I said, oh my gosh, this is just the neatest thing. And every time I come back over that bridge, I still think, oh my gosh, this is the greatest place to be. And you can sit outside. We used to sit outside waiting for Bob to come home from work when we were on the old Diamond House, sitting on the porch, the boys little, and it was just so nice to just sit out there and wait for him to come home. And now he's gone, and one of my sons is gone too, but I just love coming home. Maybe that's why I collect teddy bears. I don't know. But I love Balboa Island. It's fantastic.
What's the end game?
The end game?
Yeah, is there
There's not an end. When it ends, it ends.
No, but is there something still ambitious on your, because you're a doer, you're a
Right.
creator.
Oh, I am. And I said I'm not going to create anything else. And then this year I flew to Florida to visit friends. I was bored at the airport. And guess what? A new item was added to my repertoire, which never ever then was printed. In print, it just went directly to a PDF because it's now too late to print them.
Gotcha. But by the way, you never sell the teddy bear, do you?
Never. And you know what else I don't do? It was, I think, Cal State Fullerton even. I got a call once from a student in the photography business or filming business or something, and they said, we'd love to use your house for a set. And so I said, maybe. And they said, yeah, it's going to be this horror movie where these teddy bears, nix. I don't want one negative thing said about my cute teddy bears.
Probably was what's happening, kid. Marcy, thank you. We're just going to get a little two-shot here, and we'll be good. Later today, I'll probably send Anthony over to your house just to get some outside shots.
Yeah. You can come in too if you want.
Great.
Yeah,
The only thing is, if you want to see Christmas, you'll see Christmas teddy bears upstairs because I'm really starting to get into that. But they don't show yet. And in the windows, well, do you know the teddy bear house?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
Anyway.
there, that would be great.
Yeah.
So you lost your husband when?
In 2013.
Okay,
Yeah, cancer.
I'm sorry.
And I lost my son to cancer also.
He's young.
20. He was
Oh
20.
my God, Marcy, I'm so sorry.
It was so.
Same cancer.
No, Bob's was prostate cancer, my husband. And Bob was 20 years older than I, so